So now we're at our fourth position in our E minor pentatonic scale. I'm going to teach it to you. I'm going to start here. I'm going to put my first finger on the 7th fret 6th string, and then put my pinky on the 10th fret 6th string, first finger on the 7th fret 5th string, again pinky on the 10th fret 5th string, first finger on the 7th fret 4th string, third finger on the 9th fret 4th string, first finger on the 7th fret 3rd string, third finger on the 9th fret 3rd string, second finger on the 8th fret 2nd string, pinky on the 10th fret 2nd string, first finger on the 7th fret 1st string, and then pinky on the 10th fret 1st string. Okay, make sure to check out the tabs that I included in this course for all of the scales, and then another tab for the phrases. So here's your scale. Interesting, this scale is actually using all 4 fingers for the first time, I believe, inside of one scale. I'm asking you to use your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger. So, and now you can see the value of learning to play with all 4 fingers because of a position like this where you're actually going to span through all of them. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play this up and down. I'm going to ask you to memorize the scale, and I want you to play it to the track slowly. So I'm going to demonstrate that. Okay, I'm also using alternate picking here as I pick, and just go ahead and get comfortable with that and memorize that, and I'll see you at the next lesson. So next what we're going to do is we're going to play our scale to the backing track. This time I'm going to ask you to hold out certain tones like we always do. Okay, so here we go. Okay, this should be fairly familiar to you by now. We've already done several positions together, and so that's the protocol. But I want to point out that notice how I'm not sticking to the initial fingering that I showed you to use all 4 fingers. When you're in the flow, and I talked about this in the introduction, but when you're in the flow of playing phrases, you can break that that loyalty to certain fingers and just kind of move a little more freely. So hopefully you're experiencing that freedom. Okay, when you're ready, I'll see you at the next lesson. Okay, so now we're still on our pentatonic 4th position, and we're at a point where you're going to randomize some of these notes. So this is just helping you create your own phrases and ingrain this stuff into you. So I'm just going to randomize some notes. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Hopefully you're doing this at home. So here we go. So, and this is a really fun position. You'll notice that the notes just jump out. For me, in this particular position, everything I do sounds like a phrase. So it's very, very effortless. it should be a fun position for you. Okay, so just to recap, some of the funnest positions are going to be this one, the fourth position, and obviously the first position. It's also called the box position, but that's the first one I taught you because it is so fun and easy. But this one is probably the second most fun and easy. In other words, you just played the scale like I just did, and it sounds like you're just creating phrases just by playing it. Speaking of phrases, we're going to do that next. So when you're ready and you've learned it thoroughly, meet me at the next lesson and I'll teach you some of my phrases. Okay, so we're at our fourth position, first phrase. Let me play it for you. One more time. So the cool thing about this phrase is going to be this little quarter choke. Right there, it's maybe a quarter choke or even a half choke. So I'm doing that with my second finger. And the reason I'm using the second finger instead of the third finger is it just makes more sense in fingering to do with the second finger. And I don't need to exert myself as much. It's not a whole choke. So you recall in the intro, I said to choke with the third finger and then support it with the second and the first. I said there are a few exceptions. Here's an exception where you're going to actually choke with the second finger, and the reason it works is it's only a quarter choke and it doesn't interrupt the flow of where your hand position is to complete the phrase. So starting, I'm going to teach you the phrase. We're going to take our first finger and put it on the 7th fret 5th string, pinky on the 10th fret 5th string, first finger on the 7th fret 4th string, third finger on the 9th fret 4th string, first finger on the 7th fret 3rd string, third finger on the 9th fret 3rd string, and then our quarter choke on the 8th fret 2nd string with the second finger. And you're just going to bend it up just a hair. Just enough to get an attitude. And then you're going to resolve your phrase with the third finger on the 9th fret 3rd string. So it's... That's it. I'm putting some nice sustain and vibrato on that last note. Feel free to do that. Remember to keep your tone bluesy. Just remember to dial in some nice gain on your amp, okay? So let me play it for you in context of the song. Man, that sounds cool, okay? When you're ready, after you memorize it, join me in the next lesson. We'll do a repeat after me. So now we're gonna do a repeat after me for the first phrase in our fourth position, okay? Check it out. All right, that's a cool phrase. It's a good phrase. It builds up and it gives you some momentum. You know, you can feel it building up. you can use the rhythm of it, and even the predictability of it actually helps you build up some momentum and steam in the mind of your audience. So that's a good one, okay? When you're ready, we'll move on to the next one. So here is our fourth position phrase number 2, okay? It's gonna sound like this. One more time. Very cool. Okay, so first of all, you're going to notice this trill. And in the tabs, hopefully you're following along with the tabs, I wrote in there, I just put a bunch of them in. But I don't want you to necessarily count every single hammer that you do, hammer and pull off. It's just a feel thing. You just do a bunch of them until you're done. It's just a statement. So you're just building suspense. And then you're going to release with that slide. Let's talk about how to do this. Okay, so put your first finger on the 7th fret 3rd string. Play that. And then you're going to use this hammer pull technique that I called it a trill. You're just going to hammer on with the 3rd finger on the 3rd string 9th fret. So you're starting with the 7th fret 3rd string. And then you're going to hammer on with the 3rd finger on the 9th fret 3rd string. So it's... And then you're also going to pull off, or just pull down, if you will, just claw down to the floor. So it's... Notice that doesn't sound very clean. It sounds, you hear other string noise in there. And that's okay, because when you're actually moving at full speed, that's going to get all cleaned up and a little bit won't even be perceptible to your audience. So we're going to start here. Notice as I built up speed, you really can't hear the string noise anymore. So don't let that bother you if that's happening. So you're gonna start with the trill, and then with the 3rd finger, you can start it on the 9th fret 4th string and play the note, but immediately slide down to the 7th fret 4th string. So it's, hear that sound. And then your first finger on the 5th fret 4th string, and then end with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret 5th string. You see that fat vibrato I put on there for authority. So I got it. This is another one of those phrases that I'm actually combining 2 positions inside of one phrase. The more you can come up with phrases that forces you to combine positions, the better off you're going to be. Okay, so now we've done a lot of positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our actually 6th position we've done together. And you are more advanced now, and I'm talking to you and I'm treating you as if you're more advanced. So this is more advanced concept that I want to give you. As you're creating your phrases and as you're creating your ideas, try more and more to use phrases that bridge positions together. So in other words, don't get boxed in playing one position and then moving and playing a new position and then moving and playing a new position. Try to learn how to flow through 2 or even 3 or 4 positions all in one phrase. Okay, so just create your phrases in that way, and they can be very, very simple. So like this is a phrase, you know, if you actually just put together another phrase in another position right away, you know, you could have there. I just put a phrase from that first position lower octave using the open string, and I just connected those 2. You see how that sounded cool? It also had a nice flow to it, that it took my audience from somewhere high and right down to somewhere low. So that's just a little extra tip for building phrases. Okay, but now we're going to take this phrase, our 2nd phrase in the 4th position, and I'm going to show you how it flows to the backing track. very cool. And you saw me there, just I decided just midway through playing that I wanted more distortion, I wanted a little more gain, and I dialed in and turned on another one of my pedals. I'm using a hand-wired Ibanez Tube Screamer. Actually, I'm using two of them back to back, just like Stevie Ray Vaughan. But that's just another extra credit tip there. You can change your tone and dial in your tone depending on your mood or depending on the phrasing that you're doing that day. You have varying degrees of saturation, or if you want to sound a little meaner, you can dial in a little more distortion if you want. Remember, if you have questions on that, you can hit me up on Skype, me or my team, and we can guide you in the direction of how to use your gear, your amps, your pedals, your pickups, your guitars, whatever situation you're coming across. Okay, so work on that for a little bit and memorize it. Enjoy. Okay, so now we're gonna do a repeat after me. Okay, so here's our phrase. You're gonna repeat after me. Here we go. So that's your repeat after me section. Notice at the end I put a little flair on there. I just can't resist. In case you're wondering, I was using some advanced techniques there. I used what's called a harmonic. Actually, it's called an artificial harmonic. If you want more insight on that, hit me up on Skype, or I'll be doing a course on artificial harmonics in the future. But for today, I'm going to stick to that. I just threw that in there for just some extra entertainment for you. Okay. So when you're ready, move on, and I'll see you at the next lesson. All right, so now we're working with our fourth position, third phrase, and check this out. This is a fun one. It's using this technique called a double stop, which I talked about in the intro a little bit, and now we're going to actually apply it. What it is I'm choking a note with the third finger, and then with the pinky I'm going to play another note under it, and I'm going to let those two notes ring. Okay, it's a very cool effect on lead guitar, and it's used all the time in blues, rock, and country. So okay, so let's delve right in. I'm starting with the third finger on the 10th fret, 2nd string, and I'm going to give that a full choke. And then I'm going to put my pinky down underneath it on the 10th fret, 1st string. Now, in this particular phrase, more than ever, you really have to play the choke with the third finger. If you haven't been doing it, now you absolutely have to, okay? So play that choke with your third finger, and you're gonna play the 10th fret, 1st string underneath it and hold that note. And it's going to be tricky because you have to choke the 2nd string but not choke the 1st string. That takes a lot of control and practice, okay? Very exciting. All right, so we're going to choke the 10th fret, 2nd string, and then we're going to play the 10th fret, 1st string under it, and we're going to do that twice. So it's... Notice the second time I bring the string back down and I choke it back up again. So it's... And then the third time, I do 3 chokes here. The third time, I bring it up and down. And end with the 8th fret 2nd string. So. And notice that furious vibrato, if you will. All right, so let me show you what this sounds like in context to our backing track. It's actually very American, and if you've been listening to American music your whole life, like I have, once you learn this phrase, you start to realize you've heard this in your favorite songs all throughout your whole life. One of my favorite guitarists that loves to use this is Slash. He's constantly doing stuff just like this, and go listen to November Rain or any of those big ballads that he did, and you're going to hear this like beautiful, sad but pretty guitar line where he's just holding these bends and he's putting a note under it. Okay, so next we're going to do Repeat After Me. I'll see you over in that lesson. All right, so here we are at Repeat After Me section for the 3rd phrase, 4th position. All right, very cool. So you're going to want to experiment with that and to get it to sound just right, just the way you like it, just the way you want it to sound. And if you're new at it, you're going to be like, well, I don't know how I like it and I don't know how I want it to sound. Well, that's why you have to practice and figure that out. Okay, so just keep practicing that. This one is definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. Notice that these phrases are getting a little more intricate and a little more complex as we go. This is a little bit more advanced choking to do, like, 3 chokes in one phrase and hold the note underneath it. But it's worth it. This is the good stuff. This is the cool stuff that's going to set your playing apart from just random noodling in the pentatonic. Okay, this is some meaningful phrasing. Okay, take your time with this. Don't rush it. When you're ready, I'll see you at the next lesson. This is our next lesson. We're in phrase number 4, in position number 4, and this is really cool. Here it is. This is another level. Watch it again. This is some intricate choking, folks. I'm going to bring this note up on a choke, so I'm starting with the 10th fret 2nd string, and I'm going to grab that note and launch into a choke. Then I'm going to bring it down and whip it right back up. So once you hit a choke and you bring it up, you can bring it down and up and down and up, quickly if you want, like this. And the more I do it, the more sustain I get, because that movement and just that friction where I'm rubbing it against the fret is actually causing the string to resonate more, and I keep giving it a little more energy. So I can keep having a full, fat sounding vibration on the string by every time I move it up and down. So you're gonna move, I'm just gonna ask you to do it one time. So you're gonna hit the choke, come down, then come right back up. You're gonna do a relatively fast choke. So you're gonna hit the choke and pretty quickly hit your destination pitch. And then do it a second time. All right, so it's 2 of those chokes on the 10th fret 2nd string. First finger on the 8th fret 2nd string. Second finger on the 9th fret 3rd string. So that's it. That's the phrase. Okay, let me show you with the track. I kind of changed the accents every time, even inside of this same phrase, which you can do. You could just keep, if you change the timing or the accent or just a little bit of your delivery every time, you're going to find just very slight variations in a phrase, which actually sound really cool and can be very refreshing for your audience. So it's great to not do everything the exact same way all the time. Okay, memorize it, work with that. I'll see you over at the Repeat After Me lesson. Okay, you're doing great. So now you've memorized it and you're ready to repeat after me. Here we go. Good job. You're gonna notice when I was playing it, actually the second phrase that I played, I did 3 chokes and not 2. And I kind of did it and then I caught myself and I just decided to keep it in there because it just goes to show you can be flexible with this. You can add 2 or 3 or 4 chokes. I mean, there is a point where it gets old, but you can find where that sweet spot is when you're creating your own phrasing. So I wanted to be open-ended. You can be flexible. Now that you're improving, you're already in the 4th position, I expect you to start to take things a little less literally and be a little more interpretive, if you will. Okay? Take your time with that. This is good stuff. It's also hard stuff. Okay? So you want to be thorough. When you're ready, I'll see you at the next lesson. So now we're at our 4th position, 5th phrase, and here it goes. Check it out. One more time. So this is kind of just like, you know, if you know, you can imagine a note soaring, it's just flying up, and then it just starts to come down, and then it just crashes into the next note. You know, so that's the kind of the imagery, if you can imagine, like an airplane or just that note just soaring and then coming down and crashing and landing somewhere. And that's what the note is. You start on the 10th fret 1st string and you let that note come up and soar. And I'm going to bring it up and let it come all the way back down, just like Just like, you know, if you shot a bullet in the air and it came up all the way straight up and then it came right back down. And it's the same speed coming down as it is up. Remember, you got to keep that sustain going. You got to squeeze that neck to keep your sustain. But when you land, you're going to change your landing note and you're going to land on this 8th fret 2nd string. So it's going to be... Okay? This is a really cool phrase. And I'm deliberately cherry picking these phrases. This phrase, I mean, these actually, the last couple of phrases, they're really going to start to light up your playing and let you have real life and character in your improv. And you're not just going to sound like a piano or a xylophone. This is a real guitar player's phrasing here. And so I want you to get into it. It's going to require a lot of work. This choke, you're going to be consistent and smooth going up and down and land on that 2nd string 8th fret. Okay, so let me show you with the song. Very cool. Okay, work with that. When you're ready, after you memorized it, we're going to do a repeat after me. Okay, so now you're going to repeat after me. Let's do it. That's it. Okay, that's your phrase. Congratulations. You've come a long way to come this far. I just want to give you a pat on the back. Okay, I know this has been a difficult process and you have definitely gotten over the hump, and if you've come this far, you've gotten really down to some really good stuff, and I'm sure you're really enjoying this course at this point. Okay, so when you're ready, join me at the next video. Okay, so now I'm going to recap all the 5 phrases that we worked on for the 4th position. Okay, I'm just going to play them front to back, and I expect you to be practicing this way every single day, along with playing all your phrases front to back with all your positions. Okay, but here's that 4th position. Let's go. Man, that sounds cool. Those 5 phrases, if you put them together, they really flow as if they were part of a solo in and of themselves. Okay. Now it's interesting. If you look at these phrases, each one that I showed you, if you look at them in isolation, they don't look anything at all like a finished product. They're incomplete and they're short and they don't really tell a full story. But when you put them together, they're magic. Okay, let that be a lesson in how to create phrases. Often the best phrases are the most incomplete sounding or even a little bit bizarre sounding stuff. It's the weird stuff that when you make the weird stuff incorporate nicely in your smoother stuff, that's what's going to give you the spice of life. for your playing. So some of these phrasings were out there. You may have been learning them thinking, man, these are really weird phrases. Wow, when you put them together, look how they just complement each other and build up to a bigger theme. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to play all 5 phrases for you, and I'm going to randomize them, and I expect you to be randomizing your phrases at home as well. Okay, so here we go. Man, I could go on and on. You see how these phrases, it just allows me to keep using them, and they all sound so fresh. What's the secret, you ask? What's the trick? Well, it's really the choking, okay? The choking is what really brings this to life. And so you want to be able to focus on this stuff for yourself as well. Learn to really grow, especially in choking. That's where the good stuff is. Okay, so now what we've learned total is 6 positions, right? We've learned the first position, the second position, the first position lower octave, second position lower octave, the third and the fourth. We have 5 phrases per position. That's 30 phrases total. I'm going to play randomly throughout all 30 phrases, and this is just to set the example of how I want you to be practicing on a daily basis. Okay, so I'm blending up these phrases. I'll use some more than others, but here we go. You can have fun with it. That's just an example of several phrases put together. Notice I didn't even use all the phrases. I kind of just grabbed a couple choice ones. And notice just, if you don't mind me saying so myself, how good that sounds, okay? And the reason I'm pointing that out is because everything that we've done so far, I have taught you, okay? So this isn't anything alien that I'm doing, and it's totally within your grasp, okay? If you're struggling with this, if you need extra help, contact me for a Skype lesson. I'd be happy to walk you through how to bring out the best in your improvisation or to get you unstuck, okay? Take your time with this stuff. Don't rush it. When you're ready, I'll see you at the next lesson. We'll talk about position 5.